The candles flickered against the shiny silver table settings. Laughter rang out too loud and too sharp. Then her voice sliced through it all, calm and almost amused. She's not my granddaughter. Get out. Forks froze in midair. My daughter's red dress swept the floor as she stood there shaking. No one moved. No one spoke. I felt the warmth from the fireplace and the chill in her small hand. We walked out past the holiday wreaths, past the twinkling lights, past the guests who acted like they didn't notice. Behind us, a chair scraped gently back into place, as if the room let out a breath without us. That was the moment I stopped believing that silence meant peace. I was 8 when I learned that in our family, fairness had a clear order. My brother Alex always came first. He was the favorite. Mom's pride, Dad's mirror image. When he spilled juice on the light-colored carpet, Mom laughed and called it full of energy. When I did the exact same thing, she told me, "You should learn to be more careful like your brother." Years later, those words still echo in my mind like a twisted childhood song. At 11, I brought home a second-place trophy from soccer. I can still feel the cold kitchen tiles under my bare feet and smell the fresh lemon cleaner on the counters. Mom didn't even glance up from her coffee. "Second place is just the nicest way to say loser," she said, flipping a page in her magazine. The trophy sat there gleaming too brightly in the morning sun. By dinner time, it had vanished, moved to the basement shelf next to the old broken toaster. Dad wasn't mean. He was just quiet, an accountant who thought silence solved problems quicker than talking. If Mom was a thunderstorm, Dad was the calm center, neutral and safe, until you realized the air around him wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. He'd pat my shoulder and tell me to keep the peace. Peace in our home meant doing what you were told. Alex and I shared a hallway, but we lived in different worlds. His bedroom door was always open, full of friends laughing and the scent of new shoes and body spray. Mine stayed shut, piled high with books and the soft music from a radio turned down low. I learned to read lips across the dinner table, so I could guess Mom's complaints before she said them. Don't slouch. Don't talk back. Don't be so sensitive. At 15, when Alex wrecked Dad's car, Mom said, "Boys will make mistakes." When I forgot to set the table, she said, "Girls should know better." The unfair rules were never stated out loud. They were passed down like the fancy silverware we only brought out for holidays. One afternoon, Alex came home waving his college acceptance letter. The whole house came alive. Mom popped open champagne. Dad snapped photos. She kissed his forehead and said, "You make this family so proud." When I earned my full scholarship a year later, she said, "Good. Now you can support yourself." Same kitchen, same lemon scent, same quiet treatment. Years went by, but nothing changed. Alex became the successful lawyer with the perfect connections, sharp suits, and great stories. I became the overlooked one, the responsible manager. Even after I built my own life in Seattle, Mom's voice stayed with me, polite but cool, lacking any real warmth. Every phone call started with, "I don't want to interrupt you," and ended with advice I never asked for. I used to believe that if I tried harder, she would finally notice me. If I stayed patient, she would warm up. If I gave her a good reason, she would be proud. But every visit, every remark, every subtle put down carved the same message deeper. I wasn't her favorite. I was the example that proved her low opinion of me was correct. Snow stuck to the windshield like a bad chill. The drive home from Breckenridge was quiet except for the heater's hum and the uneven breathing of my daughter Emma in the back seat. Her red dress, once so cheerful, now looked faded in the dim light. Every few minutes, she sniffled and wiped her sleeve across her eyes. I kept my focus on the road. The mountain turn seemed never-ending. When we finally got to Seattle, the house was dark. I carried her inside, boots leaving wet prints on the entry floor. She didn't ask for food, didn't look around, just stood there looking tiny, as if waiting for someone to tell her where she fit in. "Did I do something wrong?" she whispered. The question stung like an old injury flaring up. I knelt down and tucked her hair behind her ear. "No," I said gently. "You didn't." But even as I spoke, I heard my mother's voice underneath mine. Steady and toxic. "She's not my granddaughter. Get out." Emma curled up on the couch with her stuffed bear, eyes half open but distant. I sat next to her, still wearing my coat and gloves, damp from melted snow. The clock ticked. The fridge hummed. Normal sounds, but they felt off, too sharp, in a space that used to feel safe. I turned off the lamp. The darkness settled in, heavy but somehow comforting. I could feel my pulse in my wrist, slow and strong, like something coming alive. Upstairs, I opened my laptop, not on a whim, but from a deep urge. The login screen lit up the room. My reflection stared back, pale, exhausted, but composed. I thought about the dinner table, how no one said a word, how my mother's statement hung there like a rule no one questioned. Emma shifted in her sleep downstairs. Her little hand reached for the empty spot beside her. I realized then that it wasn't only what she said, it was what everyone else didn't say. No one stopped her. No one even glanced my way. That quiet wasn't kindness anymore. It was agreement. I shut the laptop and stood by the window, watching snow fall under the street lamp. Each flake melted as soon as it hit the ground. I knew I couldn't let this go. The next morning, the city was covered in frost. Seattle winters have a way of dulling everything. Traffic noise, voices, even worries. It's a quiet that doesn't comfort. It makes things clearer. Emma was still asleep on the couch, a small shape under her blanket, the red edge of her dress peeking out like an unhealed cut. I made coffee I didn't drink. The machine's gurgle filled the kitchen like background noise. I opened my laptop again, the screen's glow dancing on my hands. My fingers paused over the keys, not ready to type yet, just sensing the return of control. I began with the easy steps. Opened my banking app and stopped the monthly payments to the family account Mom had created long ago. The screen flashed, confirmed. One small tie severed. Then I checked my email. Lots of work messages. A couple from friends. One from my brother Alex. Are you okay? I left it unread. He wasn't really concerned. He was testing the waters before picking a side. By midday, I was at my desk surrounded by files and papers that smelled like printer ink and dust. My job in legal work had taught me one key lesson. The system doesn't care who's morally right. It only cares who has the better records. So I began recording everything. Every voicemail from my mother full of criticism. Every email laced with superiority. Every bank transfer. Every suggested contribution to the family trust. I collected them all. Spreadsheets, PDFs, receipts, old notes. Each one a silent proof. I organized them carefully, labeled like court exhibits. At some point, the heat kicked on. Emma's soft footsteps crossed the floor. She appeared in the doorway, hair messy, face gentle from sleep. "Can we put up the tree today?" she asked, her voice full of hope, as if the night before was just a nightmare. "Not today," I said kindly. "Maybe soon." She nodded and wandered to her craft box. I watched her string beads carefully, her small fingers steady, the same bracelet she had tried to give my mother. She was still creating something delicate from hope. I was creating something solid. Once she was busy, I called Sarah, my sister-in-law, Alex's wife. She picked up on the third ring, voice low. "Hannah." I heard the TV faintly, kids giggling, a door shutting. "I need to ask you something," I said. "Did Mom ever ask you to sign papers about the estate?" A pause, then a sigh, not shocked but relieved. "You figured it out, huh?" "I just need the facts." She updated everything last year. Said it was to make things easier. I didn't want any part of it. "But Alex." She stopped. "Hannah, I'm sorry. It's not your fault," I said. "But I may need your support." Sarah's voice dropped. "Anything you need." When we hung up, I felt a shift, subtle, like the calm before thunder. This wasn't about payback. It was about setting things straight. Fairness through documents. That evening, I copied every file to a portable drive and locked it in my drawer. I wrote a draft email with no sender name to the Breckenridge Community Foundation Board, which my mother led, the group that loved her family values image. I attached copies of the estate changes, bank records, and a clip of Emma's shaky voice saying, "Grandma said I'm not her granddaughter." I didn't send it yet. Timing was important. Emma sat next to me on the couch, holding her finished bracelet. "Can we send Grandma a photo of it?" she asked quietly. I looked at her, at the tiny beads shining in the lamplight. Not tonight, I said. Tonight we relax. When she dozed off, I stayed up. I scrolled through old family pictures, holidays, trips, everyone smiling perfectly. Every photo seemed posed, edited to hide the unevenness. I closed them and opened a new message. Typed 3 words in the subject, for your review, then saved it as a draft. Days went by calmly. The outside world stayed hushed. I worked remotely, took calls, made Emma's lunches, and smiled when her teachers asked if everything was all right. Every night after she was in bed, I went back to my desk, reviewing, organizing, typing, signing, erasing. Each action reclaimed a bit more. On the 5th night, Sarah texted, I have something you'll want. A scan document came through soon after, minutes from a board meeting where Mom had talked about asset streamlining. Her handwriting had circled her name and crossed out mine. I stared until it blurred. It wasn't shocking. It was proof. That weekend, snow fell again. I sat on the floor with Emma, sorting beads by color. She grinned when I picked blue, her favorite. This one's for you, she said. I smiled. Keep it. I already have something special. Upstairs, the drive glowed faintly in the dark, steady, waiting. That night, after putting her to bed, I went back to the computer. The cursor pulsed on the blank email like a heartbeat. I attached it all. Every receipt, every record, every file. No long message, just one short line for review. My finger paused over send. The heater hummed low and even. I picture my mother's dining room. The bright lights, the forced laughter, the heavy silence. I thought of Emma's voice lost in that silence. The quiet snap of something breaking that only I noticed. Then I pressed send. The button flashed once and vanished. I leaned back. The house was still except for the laptop's software and snow tapping the glass. Outside, streetlights turned the flakes golden. For the first time, it didn't feel cold. It felt fresh. The morning after I sent the email, the air seemed lighter, like the house was waiting too. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched, not for replies, just for change. Snow slipped from tree branches with soft thumps. By noon, my phone buzzed. The screen showed Mom's name. One missed call, then moved. By evening, 29 in total. The final voicemail started with her voice cracking. Please don't do this. Please. It wasn't commanding now. It was fragile, too small for someone like her. I didn't call back. I didn't have to. Things were already in motion. Emails poured in, forwarded reports, media inquiries, official notes from the Breckenridge Community Foundation, board members demanding answers from Mrs. Ellis about possible financial issues. Her whole status had been built on image, and I'd learned that image crumbles quicker than affection. By night, the first news story hit. Breckenridge philanthropist faces scrutiny over estate changes. Her photo was everywhere, flawless pearls, flawless smile. The same face that told my daughter she wasn't welcome. I pictured her in her office overlooking the icy slopes, gripping her phone tightly. I could almost hear her shaky breath as she dialed Alex first, like always. Soon enough, my phone rang again. Alex this time. He jumped right in. What did you do, Hannah? The board is panicking. Mom's name is all over social media. Do you know what this does to the family? I leaned back. You mean to her? He breathed hard. To all of us, her standing, my firm. I interrupted. She made her decisions. I just shared them with others. Silence. I heard his kids laughing in the background, a door closing, a life he'd shaped in her favor. Then quieter. You didn't need to take it this far. I nearly chuckled. She told my daughter to leave her house, Alex. A long pause. Just static. Then softly, you shared everything? Yes. He sighed, part surrender, part acceptance. Sarah told me this might happen. I should have paid attention. When the call ended, I felt no thrill, just calm. I went to the window. The street shimmered under warm lamps. Cars moved slowly, unaware that up in Breckenridge, my mother's carefully built world was unraveling. A text from Sarah, a photo of an official letter. Effective immediately, Eleanor Ellis is suspended pending review. Below it, just 2 words, It's handled. I stood frozen for a second. It looked unreal, like another family's drama. Then Emma's light steps entered the room. She rubbed her eyes, climbed into my lap, and leaned against me. "Grandma called again," she mumbled. I didn't pick up. I kissed her hair. "That's fine." The phone buzzed once more, Mom's name flashing. I let it ring out. The sound lingered briefly, then faded. Quiet returned, but it no longer stung. In that stillness, I understood that justice doesn't come with loud bangs or sorry words. It sounds like this, even breathing warm closeness. No fear. Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, soft lights glowed above us. Mom would likely call again many times. Maybe send notes or cry or make promises. But some things can't be fixed once the truth is out. I looked at Emma, her fingers playing with my sleeve, and whispered, "It's finished now." And for the first time, I truly believed it. That night, the house felt lighter. No critical voices, no expectations, no judgments echoing through the rooms. Just the fridge's gentle hum and the slight creak of the floorboards when I walked. Emma slept on the couch, her bracelet sparkling in the lamplight, blue, green, gold, colors she chose herself. I sat beside her, phone nearby. 29 missed calls. One new text from Mom. "Please, Hannah, we can fix this." I stared at the preview a long while, finger ready. Then I started a fresh message and typed carefully, "You'd better start praying." I sent it. The soft click felt final, like turning a key. I waited for regret. It never came. The air felt fresh, clear. Through the window, the snow had stopped. Streetlights bathed everything in gentle gold. I powered off the phone and set its screen down. The quiet that followed wasn't void. It was deserved. I went to the kitchen, got a glass of water, and stood at the sink. My reflection in the dark window looked changed. Not gentler or tougher, just truly mine. When I checked on Emma, she stirred, eyes barely open. "Are we safe now?" she whispered. "Yes," I answered. "We are." She smiled in her sleep. A simple, everyday smile that carried more calm than any apology ever could. Outside, a car drove by, its lights briefly brightening the walls before fading. The room settled back into warmth from the lamp and the steady rhythm of our breaths. For the first time in years, I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel lesser. I felt complete. Morning arrived gently, soft light filtering through the curtains. Emma sat on the front steps, her bracelet catching the sunlight. I joined her, coffee warm in my hands, the air still scented with fresh snow. We sat without speaking. We didn't have to. Across the street, a neighbor's wind chime tinkled in the breeze, a light note of change in the calm. I looked at my daughter, at the peace she now held, and thought, this is what true peace feels like. Not forgiveness, not triumph, just stillness. If you've ever rebuilt yourself from years of silence, linger here a moment.